2026. Can you imagine we're in 2026? Good morning, everyone. I'm your host, Jason Schwartz, here at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. We're in the studios of KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. We're simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media, Channel 55, and right now you can find us on Maui Stream, their app on the phone. But after today, you go to MauiNeutralZone.com. This show and all our shows have a full transcript and a summary of the show, and that's the best experience. We also have a search engine there, so anything we're talking about, you can put in the search engine, or anything you want to think about. There are over 600 shows already up there, and we keep adding as we're going on. So when we say the voice of Maui on KAKU, we've done so many shows here. We now have a body of work where I've interviewed so many different kinds of people. What we hear out of it, sure, it's a filter of Jason Schwartz, but you hear a lot of politicians and civilians and professors. Now, you guys who are on radio can't see that I have very distinguished gentlemen here. You on TV already see. This is Professor Alan Tratner, who is new to me, but not to many of you.
Nice.
Good morning, Alan.
Aloha, Jason.
Many of you may have heard of Earth Day. Oh, come on. Many of you young people know Earth Day, and it's sort of new, and you know it's sometime in April, and you celebrate the Earth. But way back, I wasn't going to say when I'm a kid, because we're probably contemporaries. April 22nd, it almost became a religion, because we started to wake up, and we realized, hey, we got to do something to take care of our Earth. And Alan, you now have a company or whatever called Green2Gold, Green2Gold.org. You see it there on the screen. You on radio don't see it, but once you go to MauiNeutralZone.com, you'll see everything. So, you were there or way back when, and just like me, I knew about it, but you were involved since then with Earth Day and all this stuff?
Earth Day is every day for us, really. From the origination of it, God is causing it to happen. I can tell a little backstory on that.
Please.
In 1969, it was one of the incredible years in our history when mankind had the highest technological achievement to date. We went to the moon. And Buzz Aldrin, who's been on my board for years and a champion of everyone that goes to space falls in love with the Earth, and they become advocates for protecting the Earth. But what happened is that same year, there was a terrible blowout in Santa Barbara Channel of the Union Oil platform, and it coated the beaches, was killing the fish and the birds and everything else. And a lot of us that had already been concerned about all the pollution we were doing to the planet got up there and tried to volunteer to save those creatures. And it just struck me so much that we have to really get going on this, not just talk about it and everything. We got to have action. And so luckily, I had formed a little citizen group that got a little bit of attention. I wrote something called Personal Solutions, what you can do in your home, recycle and what to do. And it caught on, the media caught on to that. I've always been fouled by the media around the world, you'll find out. And what happened is that Senator Gaylord Nelson, who was the conservation senator at that time, and a number of other people figured, we were doing teach-ins in the 60s. I actually marched with Martin Luther King Jr. on, segregation and everything. And there was anti-war and anti-Vietnam and stopping atomic bombs and everything, women's rights and all that. So we got to be activists, and we were doing teach-ins in universities. That's what was the big craze, to do a teach-in about a subject. So when the concept of pollution came up, and what would Life magazine, I think, called that blowout the beginning of the modern environmental movement. But people like Rachel Carson that wrote Silent Spring and all were way before Sierra Club were pointing out all these issues. But nobody really got it until this was media covered, that particular blowout of that oil platform.
Santa Barbara, off the coast.
Santa Barbara. And Senator Nelson and some other people, a congressperson, decided, why don't we do a teach-in about this pollution, about the earth, what's happening, how we're poisoning the air, water, land, and ourselves, and the food and everything else. And that was the genesis of Earth Day. And those that were chosen, like myself, and across the United States, and ending in a large event in Washington, D.C. on the steps of Congress, was a day we set aside. And they thought it was great for spring, and it was in between certain things, and holidays and all that stuff. And that's how it was picked. And those that I took care of Los Angeles, which was quite amazing to have musicians, and everybody came to us, and the students turned out in the schools. And I also helped with Santa Barbara because I had been up there and helping in the oil spill. And that was the beginning and on that occasion, I created Green2Gold and the Environmental Education Group. Green2Gold was the first pioneering global incubator about helping a green economy, a transition to sustainability. How can we move where we are, polluting the planet and destroying it, to a transition to stability? And that's what Green2Gold is about. It's a nonprofit 501c3 incubator. We're global. We have more than 100,000 members that are inventor, entrepreneurs, innovators, scientists, researchers, and we're an anomaly in the world of nonprofits, really an anomaly in the world of incubators, in that we incubate nonprofits, more than 350 like us, that are socially, environmentally responsible. And there's a wonderful synergy between, and a kind of like aggregation of what we do in the nonprofit side and the for-profit side and the mothership Green2Gold. We interact with all of our entities. We do not take equity from the ventures at all. We're a nonprofit. We're here for scientific and research and education, and we're a pioneering entity, and it has thrust me into tons of media. I never imagined it would do what it did. I've been on Oprah and Good Morning America and CNN 5 times, my own national radio program, as we were talking about, right, on the Business Radio Network, and 90 Americans, traveled most of the countries of this planet about sustainable economic development, and we're always, all the time helping. And during COVID, we moved here from California, and my son, that's now 12 and a half, I guess, he was in remote learning, and it was just, you remember when the lockdowns were horrible. Yeah. And it happened to be that his principal of the school and everything had been on the Hawaiian Islands, built hospitals and businesses and stuff. And he said, we're just going to move the school. You can do it remote if you stay here. But we all decided to go. And we've been here for 5 years in Lahaina, in Maui, and suffered through all these disasters, climate-driven disasters, the burning of Lahaina. We were wind damaged, but not fire damaged. And had to go to the disaster centers. I had been through earthquakes and all kinds of stuff in California, one that just split my house in half, and we had to climb out of the rubble and break through the grass, the glass. Wow. And it was amazing. Yeah, in California. Wow. Two earthquakes. But I've been through tornadoes. Northridge. Northridge. And it was pretty, so I've been to disasters in different countries. Like, we were given a grant to try to do a Green2Gold incubator in Sudan, and they had a civil war, splitting. And so, I've been through very terrible situations and hurricanes and floods and fires. But the one that was like Lahaina, people used to ask me, if you were here, you couldn't know what it was unless you were right there being burned. The media went out because all the power went out. Everything went out, and people were watching it around the world. And yet we didn't really know. The next morning I got up and took my son. We were going to go to the food bank that we always were volunteering at on Thursday morning. And as we drove about maybe half mile from our place, all of a sudden, and I always use this analogy, you remember, everybody knows the Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland, where it's black and white at the beginning and then it's beautiful color in the land of Oz. It was the opposite. It was all beautiful Hawaii up to that point of where the burn zone was, and it became like Hiroshima, black and white and terrible smoke and everything else. And I said, what happened? You know, we knew something, we saw the smoke and we heard, but we didn't have any news, no communication, nothing.
Wow.
And so I got a big shock, so did my son, you know. And we watched the people that were from the church that were doing the food bank there in Lahaina. Their church was burned away, yet their trucks were out and they were trying to find a place to distribute the food. Just amazing. Feed my sheep. And so I said, wow, we got to do something. And we ended up at the disaster centers in Napili and out by us. And
where were you? And you in Lahaina? But
yeah, in Lahaina, but right on the west edge of it. So we were just blocks and blocks away from the burn zone.
Side.
Yeah, from the burn side, but not the wind side. We got the wind and everything, you know.
Yeah.
And so we ended up incubating 5 new nonprofits on the island that were concerned with kids, with all kinds of other issues, and that's what we do. We incubate and help them and learn how to get grants and sponsorship and donations and gifts and how to run a campaign. And it's the opposite of the venture side, where we have to raise investment money or debt money or whatever to help the ventures get started. But it was interesting to be at the disaster centers because we met wonderful people that had been burned, had been harmed, lost their homes, their schools, everything else. And it was great to watch the community.
And the people that were helping. I interviewed John Kinamaka. You may or may not know him.
At Napili?
He was in Honaquai, ran the...
Yeah, that's the beach one. Yes, and they were feeding food, and I remember there was a whole thing about water coming by ships and everything else. You know, it was an incredible situation, and not so much the federal response. You know, was slow, and then all this stuff, and they don't know what the hell they're doing half of the time. But they were cool. They were there. But it was the locals that made such a difference. The spirit of them in setting up a store. You know, having solar panels and keeping the refrigerator going. It was an amazing experience to watch the heart of Maui and the people respond to that.
And I'm just going to add it in just for color. And there were people that may not have been citizens, that might have been here and are immigrants and didn't have their paper. They were mixed in, and there was no separation of people. People in our community came together and were beautiful.
And our incubator has always been about the transition to an inclusive green economy. There's no definite, we're one species, humans, with millions of other species in the biosphere of spaceship Earth that we have to protect. There's no plan B or planet B. We have to protect this planet. And the climate disasters are just at the highest levels. The glaciers are melting, the caps, the Antarctica.
Let me ask you a question that's probably, again, political. We have a president and a whole regime that somehow has put on blinders to, I want to say 50 years more of
progress,
concerted effort, and the globe was finally getting together to say, okay, limit emissions, let's set some goals, and big polluter giant USA says, not us. And then somehow, what is that?
It's terrible. When he came into office, a shocker that he made it, was all of a sudden everything was reversed, as you just mentioned.
Yeah.
All the progress during the Biden administration about infrastructure and environment and energy and supporting renewable energy. You know, even with that, even with the mess that he's caused for the world and pulling out of the Paris Accords and all the climate stuff, we now, renewable energy, solar and wind has surpassed coal in the world, and we're mounting an effort. Even though states are doing, other countries are responding. They didn't pull out of the Paris Accord.
Right.
It's just the United States that was the leader now is falling backwards. And of all things, China is exceeding us in the production of renewable energy and technology. We should have been at the heart of all that.
I know.
We're blowing it for our own economy, which is kind of stupid because that is the green economy we need, and making good green jobs. And I want to do that for Maui.
Well, see,
Maui
we
needs
the same language.
Yeah, and Maui needs a second economy to tourism. It's already
And I have notions that on this kind of island where we have, you just said it's the people. Trade. If we can add in value of people's work and be able to do it without the cash, we can start to get the local people having some local equity. I mean,
absolutely.
I'm very crazy that, people come from the mainland and they impose their pricing. FEMA came over, ramped up the rents here, took perfectly good rentals where people were in and said, we will give you premium dollar for your place to house these homeless people. Oh, okay, give me a minute. I have to kick these people out. So let me kick these people out, triple the rent. It's now affected everything.
Yeah, the housing costs, the land costs went up.
And we've legislated away all the ways that people used to live here. They used to live on the side of a house like this, and they spend a couple of hundred months, they get a bathroom. And now you can't do that. All the rules have changed. And so now to get legal rentals that are going to be affordable is hard.
Yeah. Well, look. Even the governor of Hawaii has made some pretty interesting statements. He's been at conferences about sustainability and everything. Yet he wants to, from what I understood, he wants to bring giant LNG ships to Honolulu. That's liquid natural gas.
Well, someone must have not informed him of the things that you're going to tell me here.
Yeah,
because he's a very conscious guy.
And he's a doctor that understands human health and environmental health and everything. It's just for whoever's advising him. Because if you want to see something happen terrible, is one of those in the harbor blowing up, catching fire, wipe out Honolulu and everything else, and then you say, why did we do that when we have indigenous, natural, we're surrounded, we're blessed in Maui. Hawaii has geothermal. The volcanoes are active, but we do have even here on Maui, there is a lava situation. Even though it's inactive, the volcano, there is a way to tap into geothermal energy. That is the most powerful form of energy on the whole planet terrestrially compared to everything.
Years ago, when we've heard people fighting geothermal, a lot of people were fighting it because of what they said it would do to the environment where it was happening, because they were doing it right out straight in the water, right? So this is a contained geothermal that has...
Yeah, this is the rock that's hot.
People have to understand
the different technologies.
That's the things. Like you say, a teach-in would be appropriate.
We should do one here from... well, actually, one of the campaigns that we've been trying to support, Kelly King, if I can say that, is a former... She was the one that was pioneering the climate action groups and everything else.
That the council... don't have the environment and climate change.
And here you're on an island that is
amazing.
Yeah, it's blessed with every form of natural energy, solar, wind, bioenergy, her sunflowers that make the biofuels, and water, water power, and the ocean power, and wave power, and tidal power.
Taking the green waste, turn it into phytoceuticals.
Do all kinds of things
that are
at our fingertips.
I probably have a good time talking, but also I'm interested,
we should be building those. We shouldn't be buying it from China or else. We should build our own panels, our own wind turbines, our own bioenergy stuff. We should be doing it ourselves, producing those jobs locally, making the economy happen.
So what would make that happen here?
A dramatic shift. Now, there's a policy issue. If we say the people that have invested in tourism, the islands, okay, that's our big economy, okay? Well, and they're trying to make it more sustainable and more climate friendly and some. But if we say that we should just have a second economy that also produces jobs, that keeps the whole thing that makes it attractive for tourism, keeps it flowing, keeps it sustainable, keep it active, keep it long range, we can make all those jobs happen. Good green jobs locally. Maui can lead the world in seeing how an island that was affected by all these climate disasters and everything else pulls itself up.
This thing that you're talking, you can well imagine. I've been here since 1988 and formed my nonprofit in 1991. And then I ran for politics. And somehow I was labeled. They think of me as radical. I'm not radical. I'm just ahead of them. It's when I hear them talking about, get a battery and power it with solar panels. We're talking about that 5 decades ago. Why is this such a new revelation?
Well, I worked with Al Gore when he was vice president in the 90s. We did the Green Business Conference that I ran in Eco Expo all the decade, and he endorsed us. It's at our website. But the most important thing, he did Inconvenient Truth, and all of a sudden people woke up that the sky was falling in a way, and there's this climate change happening that all of us are suffering through, and the rest of the world, whether it be hurricanes, tornadoes, it's floods, fires, everything that's happening, okay? The melting of the Antarctic and all that.
And here we are in Maui.
And we're blessed.
And we could be the example to
and
the
self-sufficient.
world. And that's why I have interest in Lanai, because Pulama Lanai and Dream Maui and my whole thing, mission statements go like this.
Perfect.
And I'm sure that you
and the proposal that I wrote to Oracle and to the people that are on Lanai was, we want to fashion that for Maui. So all it is get some people that are intelligent enough to understand we're facing a crisis from an ecological standpoint, but we have an incredible solutionary opportunity that is to build a second economy, not to knock off tourism.
No, of course.
We're in compatibility.
Now, when you say a second economy, I like to say integrated, because there are many people that aren't living here and maybe never even step foot on Maui that
would support it.
Sure. And that's
where donors and investors and financial institutions and manufacturing that's green, our own incubator represents such a cross-section of every kind of technology and methodology and experts that know how to do. We have the solutions.
When the fire, we used to hear all that stuff after the fire, how they were going to deal with the waste and the thing from the fire.
Wow.
We have so many solutions that could have taken it off our island at a fraction of the cost and processed it and all the rest of that. It didn't happen. Why? Because the technology isn't approved by the federal government yet. Isn't that crazy? It's crazy. I mean, I'm sorry to sound so emotional, but it just amazes me that we operate from inside a closed box. I just don't. Why is that? I'm asking you only because you watched it.
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, it isn't like evil and good, okay? It's people being understanding, being educated. That's why teachings were so important, is if you learn the facts. And I noticed, I remember a year ago, I was at one of the town hall meetings that was in Kahului, and it was all about wanting to get rid of HECO, for a lot of reasons, and have our own nonprofit cooperative for renewable energy, total renewable energy. And I was there, and I presented, and people applauded and everything else. I was telling, we have the solutions. Build them here. Don't buy them from somewhere else. Make your jobs, make the economy flow here.
I agree.
Become self-sufficient in food. I've been told that you're only 10 or 20% secure in food, and we used to be 100% on the islands.
I heard recently, as yesterday, we're 5%
down to the
5%.
We have to import that's ridiculous.
And like you say, liquid natural gas, we put in Honolulu, wipe out all of everything at one move. A tsunami.
And it's not needed. It's not needed. We have all the resources. That's the problem that I'm having with politicians understanding that regardless of regulatory thing, and you can change that. Laws can be changed. That's why you have a legislation, okay? And you say, we're going to make it an exception to build this new economy, this green Maui economy, and have something that's fostering this sustainability and all these green jobs. Our own local green manufacturing. I call it micro-manufacturing. You don't have to have smokestacks and this some kind of, people who say manufacturing. It's all clean tech.
Industry.
It's clean industry.
That's the thing. I see.
And the kids are behind it, the colleges, everybody's behind it.
I've been here talking this. Again, like I said, I don't know how to get it out in the media. Maybe when we collaborate, we're going to find new levels of being able to show this, because I'm talking the same thing for 30 years here already.
It's got to be ground roots up and government down. That's the magic
thing. Wouldn't it be helpful if we have an investor like I know you say the name Larry Ellison and everyone says, "Oh, he's a Trumper." Well, a lot of our audience may be Trumpers. I don't care what political.
Yeah, but he cares about sustainability.
And he has a vested interest. So here's someone that has the resources to support the best technologies that we can assemble.
And it would be a small dent in his wealth.
Nothing is wealth. We could take and this whole thing. So you and I in our conversations are going to move this up a level with you guys involved, the guys that are out there in our audience from all over the world. It can support this.
And you've seen it. I have a little slide presentation. It's how to bring a green economy to Maui. And it outlines everything from agriculture.
Someone said to me, "You have to have Alan on the show, Professor Alan Tratner." And I said, "Oh, isn't that interesting? He's going to be on next week." Oh, so they could be watching now. There's so much information. It's almost like, and as I saw it, I thought about myself. We have so much information. It's not like we're lacking for the support for what we're saying, but it gets overwhelming to people. There's just so many.
So we tried to make it easy. And if anybody wants it, they should request that on your show. Write to me at my email and ask for the Maui presentation about the green economy for Maui. And I'll be happy to send it out.
Is that, do you have it as Alan or Professor Tratner?
It's Alan at Green, well, there's two. Alan at Green2Gold.org or Alan Tratner at Gmail. Either way.
Okay. I like Alan, A-L-A-N.
My mom said that's the best way to spell it, by the way, A-L-A-N.
Thanks, Mom. But my point being that Alan at Green, the number 2gold.org. That way you can find the website at the same time.
Yeah, it's Green2Gold.org.
Green2Gold.
And we're here. We've been here for 5 years, and we've made proposals. We've been talking to everybody.
Well,
it's time
you're
to do
talking about the stuff I'm talking about. So it sounds like to me, in my mind, that you and I need to be able to speak and reach out through the network that I've been working with here and work through you and suddenly have more of a presence to be able to present this locally. Because I've been talking about this stuff. You talked about Kelly King. Kelly has been just an extraordinary supporter of the right things. I really got to know Kelly better when there was a $50,000 grant that was put out by from that Environment and Climate Change Committee to take green waste and process blue-green algae to create an energy source of biofuel to run a jet engine, not let it, you know this stuff, pyrolysis process, extract phytoceuticals, helps growing like Jurassic Park. We eliminate all. We have so many resources. We could be independent quick.
And we just finished, as you know, June 1st. I was shocked when the county said they put out, who would ever think a governmental agency said, we're looking for experimental and innovative, sustainable, affordable housing proposal for 3 sites on Maui. And I was shocked, and people said, you got to go to the first meeting on that day, April 1st, which was, I said, is that an April 1st joke, fool's joke? And it was real, and we just finished. We crashed and burned for 2 months to get that in. They extended it, because who could do it in 30 days? The housing and development. County put that out, and I said, I've been in government. I was talking, all kinds of stuff.
Talk to these people about cluster housing, experimental housing. They look at me dumb-faced, and yet someone was working on it.
Yeah, and we identified maybe 12 different, there's things like micro houses and 3D printing and manufactured and modular houses and stuff built on site. But we looked at all of that, knew that. We had that in our incubator already. And we've been doing sustainable communities in different parts of the world anyway. So we said, perfect, we're going to go for it, okay? And we got it done, and I sent you a copy of that. What was amazing is the team got together that we already had. And they all functioned and volunteered to pull it off. And that was what was amazing. So our first shot at opening the door with county government was something that they put out and asked for. And we said, we have the solutions. We have the talent.
How did you find out about it? They called you.
What happened was it was in something called Maui Now, a newsletter I get every day. And it just happened to have, otherwise nobody was letting us know. And all of a sudden I saw this little thing in there that they said they're going to have this experimental and innovative housing thing.
See it. Isn't that Maui Now? I want to say, sadly, sorry, Maui News, you guys have shriveled into this little, I don't even know what you are, but Maui Now.
Well, it's online. The one I get is online.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Maui Now.
And it's pretty loaded with good stuff, and that's the only way I've found out every day what the pulse is of the community.
Right. Isn't that amazing?
And so, had I avoided, not known about that, I would have never been asked to do that. And I bet a whole bunch of, you know what happened? I think there was at least a dozen or more entities showed up to the first meeting online where they explained what they were looking for. And there was the Catholic Church, and they're trying to do, buildings and everything else. And there were a couple of constructors and developers and stuff. But the funniest thing is when I got a chance at the end, when they asked for questions, to talk about our history and what we do, and said, how we know how to build this and make a green economy. And people responded from the audience that might be our competitors for the proposal and said, how do we collaborate with Professor Tratner? How do we do? She said, you're welcome to collaborate with whoever you want on this proposal. So we got some people together that we're actually there to learn about this concept. So we need more of those coming from different departments, emergency response and everything else. There's technologies for detecting fires when they're remote. And there's a lot of stuff that people should be doing if they just catch up. And we want to be that solutionary source here on Maui.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm just...
Did my 15 minutes get used up?
Well, you still got 15 to go, so you're good.
Okay.
Well, you know what I enjoy about this? I mean, it almost exhilarates me to sit with someone that understands that this stuff is important. It is very hard to get the temperature up on people on how important this is and how much good can be done.
And it doesn't have to displace anybody. If you're smart.
It uses those people as part of this.
And they come into new jobs that are green and productive and everything else.
And we all talk about wanting to keep our kids and our grandkids.
Here on the islands.
Come on, people. So,
at Earth Day, by the way, at the college,
yes.
This past Earth Day, I was there where they gave us an exhibit like I've been doing for the last few years. Kelly came to see us, the Department of Agriculture came to see us. It was kind of interesting. And National Public Radio, the one that's for Hawaii, Hawaii Public, they were right next to us. And the reporter was talking to me. I explained what we're doing, and we should be doing a story with them. But what was cool is that the students that came were interested, would stop, and because it said, green economy for Maui, my posters and our Earth Day flag, the original flag I have. It's a precious thing to me historically, the original Earth Day flag. And they were all excited. They want to have a career. They want to stay here. They want to care about the planet and have jobs and have a good career.
Well, that's why I don't want to say picking on. Larry Ellison could be such a pivotal helper.
And we can make it to him tax deductible if he needs it.
And what also is interesting is once we involve someone at that caliber, we're talking about a community here as the owner of Google, and we got Jeff Bezos here, and Peter Thiel.
And Oprah. I was on Oprah, and she changed my whole life being on her show. She's here. She's got land and everything.
Right. So we have the wealthy people here that could support and develop these industries.
And actually get a return on investment, ROI, if they were smart. They could be the spark plug that would actually ignite what we need to do here.
That's what we're looking to see, is that people that have the resources jump in and involve themselves. There is such a demand for this kind of thing. I mean, I would think We're going to have to find out how to bring this up a level here pretty soon.
Well, maybe if people like Kelly get elected this year and make a difference and don't think about what the federal government is crazy about, just simply do it here and we get behind this, then all these kind of initiatives and solutions will happen.
Have you met some of the environmental groups here? You probably have on occasion.
I've been with the Climate Action Group. They were on display. I've known about him for a while and about what they're trying to do politically. I got to be careful about our 501c3. We can't do lobbying or anything like that. Yeah. So, but I've met some here at the Earth Day events. But more importantly, it isn't so much just being with the environmental groups that can support you. They're smart about it. I want to get labor and education and the chambers of commerce and everybody else to get behind this.
It's like when you go to the environmental groups here, I think of it like a lot of splinters. They're all...
And they have their own issues, you know.
So my visions, which again, you've been doing, so that's why I want to hook in, of linking nonprofits together and becoming a powerful integrated force.
Absolutely.
And we're on an island, so what we do here could be an example to everywhere.
And collaboration is the answer, and solutions that you can actually deploy are the answer. Nobody has to invent this, folks. We're here. The technological situation is abundant for us here. And we have the need, all these disasters, climate disaster, and the economy sinking. Somebody said that not only the University of Hawaii did that, we're going to go into a mild recession because there's a decline in tourism, okay? Well, now they're worried about if the hurricane at this season with El Nino being the highest ever.
Have you met Keone Dudley? You may or may not have. He's on Oahu. No. I met him when he was running Green. I was a Green Party.
Okay.
And he did a recent video about the increased risks of hurricanes and what's been happening climate-wise, where the zone is suddenly now going to shift the hurricanes more directly to hit us, and we're not going to have the same
glancing off
trade winds to. So
you got to
prepare.
Wake up. It's called preparation, resilience. Then put these new effects in that make us self-sufficient. Look what happened during Lahaina. After a couple of weeks, most of the supplies that came here were from the air and the water, the ships. We don't have the mainland trains and trucks coming across to supply us. We have to be self-sufficient. And the most important thing I think the people of Maui need to know is that you can be independent, self-sufficient, be secure, food secure, energy secure. You can do it right now.
Not only that, it isn't.
It isn't rocket science.
It isn't right.
It can be. There are some solutions that are rocket science.
But what's really not, when I hear about your sustainable housing thing, of so many people, yours involves all the systems to run a house, not only the building of the structure, because we've seen a lot of people.
Yeah, also zero waste and the recycling. There are systems now that make that house be totally independent and self-sufficient. And actually, you can make excess energy if you want to sell to the utility or to your local neighbor.
Can we see? That was when I was talking the other night. I was in California. They called it PURPA laws, right? Do they still have that here? Where you can sell your utility?
Yeah, the back. Yes,
at that rate, because I don't want the little rate. We want the retail rate.
Right.
That's what would really
I think, every time I've been interviewed, I get a chance if I do. I want to talk about solar energy.
Please.
Every building, every dwelling, every factory, every school that we erect on this planet is a power plant that goes unused for the most part because, look, here's this incredible fact. The sunlight in midday in June that falls on the tops of the buildings of New York City, that energy that's bouncing off wasted is the equivalent to all the peak power generation of the whole United States. Solar energy on all our buildings, and wind is an aspect of that, but solar energy for thermal, like they do in Europe and Israel and everywhere else, they do this stuff with water heating and space heating, air conditioning.
Cogeneration. That's what got me here originally.
And photovoltaic electricity. And we shouldn't be buying panels from other countries. We have the technology and the manufacturing. We invented the solar cell after World War II. We were the ones that invented it. It's funny that other companies in other countries are producing. We can do it right here.
We did it by design.
Yeah.
All the people that said, we can get labor cheap here. We can get here.
You don't have to be plugged to a centralized utility. Look, they erected all these giant wind turbines. Well, who does that? Only a utility that wants to keep you plugged in and you paying a rate.
Centralized.
Decentralized microgrid.
We are talking the same language, for a long time.
And if we get this housing grant, we want that one thing that it's called the Wells thing in Wailuku. That's the one property we went through of the three they had one Kihei and one up in Paia, I guess. We took the Wells one. And we can get 16 families on that and make them, we called it the Kuilia Eco Village. Okay, that's our proposal. But if they allow us the leeway, we can go after other grants and support other than what the county will do. We could make that a self-sufficient community. Let it be a pilot of what we're talking about, where there's zero waste, the water is cleansed, all that kind of stuff, and they make their own energy. The microgrids that are in that particular thing. If we win that, but it's a good example that we can do it. Anybody else that wants to pick it up, what are they going to do with the other two sites? Is it only one winner, or are you going to allow three of the best bids do the three different sites? I have no idea yet on this.
Well, yeah, we don't know what they're going to do, but that doesn't stop us.
The people of Maui.
Now that everyone knows about it, there's nothing that says we can't do it. We don't only need the government.
No.
That's the power of everyone.
And private initiatives and private industry.
Absolutely.
And nonprofits doing it. And then they can get donations and grants and tax deductible giving and all that kind of stuff. Right. And the most important thing is you put it all together in a coalition. I have always called them, get the stakeholders together. When people want us to do an incubator anywhere in the world that I've done, I said, first, identify everybody that could be a stakeholder, that has some kind of a vested interest, from the smallest to the largest government. Bring them together, and that's so you get everybody on the same page.
Right.
And then we show a film about the power of incubation that's been done in other places and what it does to the community, let alone doing sustainable economic development, a green mini economy. If you couple all that, we bring our incubator into a community, and we propose doing that, okay? Is that you do that. There should be one on every one of the islands here, but we'll do it in Maui, where we live right now. Let that be first.
We're blessed. We have 3 islands to play with.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't like this, I call it picking on Larry Ellison. I've never met him. And I can only assume, the people I met here that know him, one guy was a chef and was down in Malaya when Ellison drove his boat over and picked up all the food, that he was bringing back to all his workers. I keep thinking that if you speak intelligently about these subjects, politics can go out the window. This makes economic sense as well as social sense.
Yep.
Seems like it should be picked up.
And it was surprising to me when I first found out that he owned the whole frickin' island. And then the second thing is that he wanted to make it like 95% or whatever. Well, that he wanted to have it sustainable. He tried some off the shore, some kind of water power thing. He wanted to do agriculture, spend a lot of money on an experiment about agriculture. The guy is putting his energy and his money behind his belief. So I think we need to tap into it and show him we have a plan.
Right.
And the ironic thing is, I told you back a few years ago, we wrote, when I found Larry Ellison, I listened to him on a radio program, and he said, we need STEM. We need to get educated. We need more engineers and scientists and stuff. And I said, we have a super STEM academy. Maybe I should call up Oracle and say, maybe you want to support us. I called up Oracle. And then the corporation said, you know what? You should talk to our foundation, Oracle Foundation. It's a closed foundation, so they actually opened the door for us. Next thing, we were doing an event at Oracle headquarters, okay? Next thing, they told me about what was happening with the island. And you should get a hold of so-and-so at the island of Lanai and make a proposal. It was a beautiful proposal, and the county government blessed it and everybody, but they weren't ready with the creating of that resort. The Four Seasons, whatever it is on there.
It wasn't up and ready.
It wasn't ready, and they said, we can't handle it right now, come back. So we just put it away and resurrected it for Maui, now that we're here. But he knows, at least his people know, that we made a proposal for him to have a global center for transition to sustainability, a green economy. Right. Let people fly in and learn.
What you said is really, to me, what's important in what you said was, that we're now doing here in Maui, and he's part of Maui. We don't need to only help Lanai.
No.
Something could happen that would
for all three islands, the county. And the county has to get smart about that, and they have to look at it that way. You can't have one limping along and not being self-sufficient and not being self-powered and having their own ability to be secure. It should be all three of them together.
Right. And, when we think, I don't want to go off on different subjects, but Molokai and the whole would be, and again, another place to be able to do things on scale to be self-sustainable.
And they don't have giant populations that you have to serve. This can be easily done with existing technology.
Isn't that is the biggest thing. I don't think people really get that yet. There is existing technology that can create affordable solutions now.
And good green jobs.
Well, that's
that's why I call it a green economy. It isn't just we're buying technology and deploying it. We're making the technology and causing jobs.
I always thought, does it going to cost a lot to bring the raw materials here?
No.
I would think it would be cheaper to bring the raw materials here and assemble it and do whatever we got to do to create the final product here.
I think
and not have to ship it.
Most people don't understand bio-based plastics can be as strong as some metals, and certainly fossil fuel plastics. You can make so many things. You can make structures out of that. You can build factories. You can make equipment. You can make solar panels and wind turbines and the bio stuff and everything else. You can, from agriculture, which is a renewable, sustainable resource. We don't have to import trees and logs and everything.
I'm hoping you guys are loving this, because this is what the kind of stuff
you make food, and all of a sudden you have the waste from the food making energy and making plastics and making all kinds of stuff.
Take the waste and turn it into something. That's what I have a LLC, Regenerate Maui LLC. We got all these things.
Yeah, it's regenerative everything. Regenerative everything.
I can't believe that when I speak about stuff here, that people aren't picking it up. So I'm going to work with you.
Do you know how we got the name Green2Gold? We can finish on that.
Please.
I thought at the beginning, during Earth Day, that what we need, ancient alchemists wanted to take base materials and turn them into precious like gold. Remember, that was alchemy. And I said, we could do that with recycled materials, is take that stuff, Green2Gold, and make it into golden solutions. And that's how we came up with the name Green2Gold. Never understanding that at some point in my life that we were going to be Green2Gold also was something for marijuana, a name for it. And some people that were doing cultivation were trying to join our incubator. It was kind of funny until it was legalized. I never thought that side of that. But it's agriculture. It's a plant that's been with humanity for hundreds of thousands of years. And hemp, and it makes food, and it makes shelter, and it makes clothing, and all that stuff. Hemp is a deal. I'm on this committee that holds every few months a meeting, and it's about agriculture and regenerative things. And there's manufacturers that are growing hemp. Hemp can do a lot of it, make the materials you're talking. Ford made a body back, Henry Ford, that was made like carbon. Carbon fibers and everything was out of hemp. He made a strong, one of the famous pictures in newsreel has a hammer smashing the side of one of his cars, like the Model T stuff, but it was out of hemp. You can do so many things with agricultural-based materials.
That is really a key piece that, people don't think that at all. And we can grow. So we grow our own buildings. We grow.
All of our technology. We grow our jobs, grow our buildings, grow our water purification and reuse. We shouldn't let the water run off into the ocean. We should be capturing it. We should be saving it, and it's precious fresh water, for agriculture and everything else. And we have a technology called the Rainmaker that purifies that stuff without osmosis, and also you can desalinate but not pollute the water. When you do seawater desalinization, there's stuff that can be extracted from that salt that has economic value, and all you put in back is the water that comes from your use. You're not wasting that into the sea. And
it has nothing in it? Comes out. How does
it comes out more than potable. The water is for agriculture and drinking. It's better than EPA potable water. These are just little tidbits for everyone to hear of the technology that exists right now.
Or water from the air.
Yeah, water. They do that in Australia. There are machines now that just take that humidity and everything and make that water be extracted.
Well, and we're talking about it like these people are hearing it like it's new. But I've been hearing all these solutions, I don't want to say forever, but when I came to Maui I got to remember, 1988, there already were solutions then for these things.
And just we've progressed on their efficiency and their ease of manufacturing, their cost of the goods sold. All of that has been progressing. Right. And we're at a wonderful time that's horrible for the world, the environment. Along with wars, the worst pollution of all is humanity's wars against ourselves and all the species of the life and the biosphere. But I'm telling you, what is really interesting is that not only are the solutions here, the economic rationale for using them is here. And with the climate disasters that we're facing and challenges.
So this is...
the government has to realize their own jobs are dependent on how they serve their constituents. And if you're not wary of renewable energy and all these solutions and everything, you're not doing your job. And you should not be in government if that's all you care about, is keeping yourself in business, in government, and not serving your constituents and the people and the planet. People and planet come first.
And people need to be looking over the horizon. Too much of what we're doing now, a lot of people are thinking about right now. It's created all the stuff that's been going on has been creating an economy that's choking people.
Sure.
And so how do you get their attention back when they're all focused on just survival?
What is cool is it's short-term, medium-term, and long-term. This kind of economy works. You ease into it. You do the transition. No jobs have to be sacrificed. Nobody has to go wanting from this. They move in, they get trained, they build the new things. We do it here on the island of Maui.
Well, they talk about workforce housing, but it's strictly about vacation
except in the case of affordable housing now. What is it? Somebody said that islands need 60,000 new homes. That's how bad they are off.
Well, I remember, I got to say 15 years ago when Maui needed this was according to a council guy, Vince Bagoyo. You don't even know who that is, probably.
No.
We needed 8,000, and that was on Maui, and that was 15 years ago. It's worse now. And like I say, once you change all the laws so you can't have illegal rentals with someone living with less than a full this, and it's cut down the number of available rentals and jacked up the price, it's definitely time to do what we're talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you having me on your program, and I hope.
When I thought it was really good that someone that I was speaking to, she was actually in Kelly King's campaign group. Very nice people. Very
Is that
motivated.
Ann? Is that Ann?
It is.
She has asked me to go and speak in front of their group.
When she was talking to me, and she said, you should get Professor Alan Tratner. And I said, well, it's interesting because he is my guest this week.
And I let her know that I am going to be on your program.
See, there are people like her who are focused and dedicated and, coming from the heart.
And open to the proper solutions, okay? And now they're trying to make a difference because we have to elect people that are smart enough to understand all this.
Sure do.
Yeah.
Well, with political season coming up, we may see some of those people here. I hope to get some of them here. I don't like to come with a hammer or a sled when I speak to someone. I like to let them put their foot in it. I want them to be who they are.
I put both of my feet into this conversation.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
I want to be here and give you a platform to just tell me all your good stuff, and that is what I do with political people, because they don't usually get questions and an hour to sit with someone. Wonder if they could sit. Can they actually talk for an hour?
Do you have call-in also on this?
We have call-in, but you have to have an audience that's ready to
that's
call
already.
In. If you want to call in, you guys that know it. 808-873-3435, and then they get it out there and they transfer it in. But
what a delight!
We're not
this
promoting too much.
No.
Who's coming ahead, and because we don't have a head, people maybe don't know. But how do you promote these days? Facebook? I'll be damned. I don't really.
You just use multimedia. You just get savvy about that. And you start to use every form of media. And you use social media and use traditional media and use broadcast and use internet and use every way to get newspapers and blogs nowadays. If you're smart, you know how to market through all those different multimedia.
Well, and you have to have enough arms and legs. So hopefully that's where AI.
Well, let me mention there's something else that goes beyond that. That's internships. And what I love, we have like 150 something interns from around the world. And what's cool about interns now, they're educated amazing. I had an intern for like a year that had a master's in sustainability. I would have never believed that. Wow. And I'm a professor in this field, and they're so educated, but they care, and they get engaged with us. They're amazing kind of catapults for energizing people, and nonprofits and for-profits. We share them among our entities.
I put a letter out, I want to say a month ago, to the principals of all Maui high schools, looking for some of their top-notch computer people who might want to intern with my guy.
Absolutely.
I don't get responses. And that's why I said,
you got to use the social media of.
I get a, yay, that sounds great, from two principals, one in Molokai and one in Lanai. Nothing from Maui.
Well, but there's also Maui College and the university and everything else. And then on a general basis, where we get a lot of theirs is something called Volunteer Match, which has just been absorbed. It's a nonprofit, and we post 4 different postings.
Can you believe? I'm going to look at the clock with my glasses. Maybe I'll see we have no time left. Let's see. We have 45 seconds. Professor Alan Tratner, Green2Gold.
Thank you very much.
I hope you'll come back, and we'll be doing a lot of conversation.
I would love to do that, okay, and get deeper into this, and actually maybe have some discussion of real solutions that we can deploy that came out of that proposal.
Well, we can do that. We don't only have to sit here in the studio. Thank you all for joining us. Next week we have, right on this hot seat, Mayor Rick Bisson. So if you want to call in, you're welcome next week. Meanwhile, we are out of here. That was a quick hour. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Aloha.